This is the World Predictions February 2026. So I'm going to be using my predictions oracle as well as my forecast oracle to bring you what could be possibly happening in the media in February 2026. At the end, I'm also going to be going through January's to see what happened and see how the card's done. I'm also going to be reading through the comments for the people letting me know what is going on in your part of the world. Straight into today's reading, it's going to be the world predictions. First prediction, I'm doing this slightly different than I normally do. Normally, I'll just lay them all out and just pull them together into different predictions. I'm just going to try things a little bit differently. It's a new year. I'll see how I feel about doing it this way. I'm going to just do, say, four different shuffles for different predictions. We'll see how that goes. So this is just a test. I may go back to the old way next month, but we'll see how we go. So first of all, I'm seeing the countries that are on the table are South America and Antarctica. I see escalating. No, Antarctica. I wonder if we're talking Greenland. I don't have a Greenland card here, so I think. So I know that they're in different areas, but I don't have the northern. I only have the southern, Antarctic energy. I don't have the northern. So I'm actually thinking that this is Greenland, and I'm gonna go with that because that's what my intuition is telling me. So because I don't have Greenland in there, I don't have Iceland in there, I don't have that general region in the deck, I'm actually feeling very strongly intuitively we're talking Greenland, um, here with this card. That's what it's representing. Also, more stuff going on around South America. Venezuela and all the whole area, South America. So lots more going on in those areas. Now, the first prediction that I'm seeing here, because we're seeing escalation and stress are the two other cards that I'll be leaving on the table. Calm and love I'll also be referring back to as well. First prediction, we're seeing something going on, farming industry, heavy burdens faced by the farming industry, but we're seeing trying to find a good outcome, dismantling old systems around farming, dismantling old systems around possibly South America, um, but faced with external pressure, outside influence, diplomatic fallout, tension. Mm. Now, farming, could we be talking about farming of natural resources, rare earth minerals? Hmm. Diplomatic fallout and tension caused from wanting to farm rare earth minerals. I know farming's not mining, but I don't have mining in that deck. I'm pretty sure I don't have a mining card. I have one in my, a card that's now representing itself as mining in the other deck, which is the governance deck, but this deck doesn't have one. So I'm taking this intuitively today as we have external pressure from outside influences, NATO. I'm just telling you what I'm hearing. causing diplomatic fallout or tension around rare earth minerals, Greenland, as I'm reading the Antarctica there, um, outdating, dismantling systems that are outdated, causing heavy burdens. Are we dismantling something to do with NATO in the headlines in February? But it's all connected to money. It all relates back to money. Maybe it's costs of NATO, maybe it's the resources, the rare earth minerals. That's all. It all comes back to money here. Okay, intuitively, I'm probably more picking this one up as being Greenland rather than South America. I see them two as being the two heightened energies over February 2026 will be Greenland and South America. So, but I am feeling though it's the to do with farming or mining of rare earth minerals, and I feel like they're outdated resource dismantling outdated systems could be NATO, something to do with NATO energy there. And because of the diplomatic fallout or tension that it brings and the outside influences, so NATO, the external pressures. I just had a little camera change, so I had to just change out the direction of the cards. So I'm back. So that I will leave that prediction one there. Let's get on to the next prediction. The energy of prediction two feels more to be South America energy. Let's see what we have is in the middle, we have somebody uprooted and taken out, imprisoned or detained, which is why I'm thinking it's probably South America. Then we see someone trying to hold on and hang on to power. But we see outside external pressure, succession plan, next phase. So, like working on what the next phase of rulership or leadership is here, um, influenced by the US, which is external pressure, outside influence. So, this is stuff that's already kind of in the works, but it will continue through February. Now, the things here that are new, that are different, is we're talking about collapse of society, whether we're talking about uprisings, whether we're talking about dismantling old systems, collapsing old systems to do with communities, to do with societies, society, I should say, not community. Then we have assistance or help and to bring in new changes. So asking for assistance or help to bring in new changes. A period of darkness or outage in the region. Then we have the ripple effect of all this going on is cost of living, economic pressures. So it's either indicating that maintaining power or getting involved in the succession plan costs money for South America, or we're looking at the people being affected here in a way that affects their cost of living, their economic pressures, but change is coming. So this is where, and I'm going to re-pull cards, the smaller cards. This is where I'm feeling escalating, sitting on top of economic pressures. So this is escalating energy around the cost of living, the cost of things, the changes coming, changes to the economic or all the standards of living. But it's a ripple effect or a consequence of that current leader being taken out, imprisoned, and then trying to hold power and maintain structure or society or economics here. But we do see external pressures from outside countries here, looking at what the next phase is for South America. Okay, something returning to normal, trying to return stability to society, to return things back to normal, maybe even trying to return or holding power. Now, I don't know if that is the Venezuelan leader that's been detained or whether that is his 2IC or his party still. His party trying to return to maintain order, hold power, and return to normal. Meanwhile, external forces are looking at what the next phase is for succession plan. This is playing out over the month of February for South America. And we're looking at being calm and peaceful. Interesting with these cards here. As I say that, I do definitely feel an imbalance going on when it comes to calmness because of what has happened. So, yeah, something's going on there further, a ripple effect happening for South America because of what happened with the leader being taken out and imprisoned. Changes will be coming. So let's do the next one. Prediction. The two countries that I've pulled up for the next ones will be Canada and the Middle East. So countries in the Middle East and Canada. This one I feel is more aligned to Middle East than Canada, so we'll pull another spread for Canada next. Here I'm seeing what's going on in the Middle East will be to do with military action, military planes, lots of military action here, politicians or governments celebrating success, a change of course, authoritarian response, forced compliance, trying to get things to return to normal, military action to try to force a rulership handover, but trying to stay put. So the current government trying to stay put. This feels Iran, it feels Middle East. So the other things that we've got around here is reconsidering what the options are, getting involved in the Iran situation. So NATO or US, considering maybe even changing course, considering. Okay, that's very interesting because here we see the authoritarian response or forced compliance, but changing course. Maybe going in it with a different tact or a different approach than what they have been in previous months. I see a lot of military action on the card. I see a lot of planes and military action taking place Middle East area. Trying to get to the situation to return to normal in that area. Maybe the current rulership is trying to get the people to return to normal. I see government leaders celebrating success here and trying to use military force or military action to keep leaders in their positions and returning the people back to normal. I'm not condoning one way or another. I'm just telling what the cards are saying is going to be playing out in February. But we do see authoritarian response, forced compliance to change course of this current situation, to balance out the energy of the people for the future moving forward. But they're reconsidering their tactics or their response or their approach. So they're going to be doing it a little bit differently in February than what we've seen in previous months. Military action playing on the table. We're still seeing heightened escalation in this area, but we are seeing trying to change course here or reconsidering of the way things have been done. Let's move on to the next spread. Next spread for February 2026. I feel this is connected to Canada, but also the very north top of the globe. So we're talking Greenland, we're talking everything north, north of America up here. So we've got power plays playing out it. First of all, power plays. Okay, this card here is showing that trying to take Greenland by force would be a disaster. That's the first thing that I'm getting here. Canada, I have got something going on around you, Canada, that is a terror response or broken credibility from your current leaders. So something that goes on with your leaders, and I'm sorry I don't follow your leaders, but something causes a state of panic or fear within the people responding, but credibility or trust is broken with government. Here we see reckoning sitting next to collapse or society. Now I see being in the spotlight, being Greenland, and looking after and who, well, I don't know who's looking after Greenland because that's the word that just came out of my mouth unintentionally. So, who is looking after Greenland? Where's Canada's ties here? What's happening here with Canadian leaders here? Are they getting more involved in this situation in February? What's the power moves and the tactical maneuvers going on here? We've got food shortages on the table as well. They're hiding something. They're hiding something around, or from the society or the collapse of the society. They're hiding how their maneuvers will affect society in that top north area. Climate reckoning would be the thoughts of society around heavy mining industry in Greenland. Succession plan is putting ideas on paper for the future. We had the future card, which I moved, it was sitting here. So the future card, so putting we're thinking about okay, a scarcity of this mineral, this rare earth mineral, scarcity, and really trying to put everything on the chessboard. The power plays here is connected to this rare earth mineral, and it's all about the Canadian or very North Greenland is such an important part of this chessboard play because of the scarcity of this mineral or this rare earth resource, earth, scarcity of this rare earth resource. This is what the whole thing is about. The spotlight is on. The spotlight will be on the scarcity. I'm calling rare earth, and I might even call the shortage over here, being it's a shortage of this particular resource, earth resource. Taking this resource by force, not being honest and open about the full situation and the heavy mining. I'm seeing heavy mining, how it affects the people, the society, and the collapse of society with this heavy mining industry, totally wrecking. See the two cards here. We've got the beautiful earth energy, and over here we've got a completely mined area. Okay, so people being in fear of the inundation of this heavy mining industry, explosions, and this is mining. I mean, I don't see this as being fighting and battles and war like we sometimes see this card. It's probably more like detonation of mining. So the mining detonations here, and people living in fear of this rising heavy mining that's taking place in this area because of this rare, if I show you that word, scarce shortage of this particular rare earth mineral or these rare earth minerals. Whether it brings down the society, but they're hiding something here. Something is being hidden. All of these connect, all of these cards connect, except this one. hiding something. They're making tactical maneuvers because there's a little bit more involved in it than just his heavy mining industry. They're hiding something else. And that's why it's so the whole thing's been taken in such a forceful way. Healing's going to be required for this area, whether that's Canada or Greenland, but healing is going to be required, but highly unlikely that it will get the healing that it needs. Carefree Canadians. Carefree Canadians, how are they affected here? Carefree Canadians, let me tap in and have a look. Okay, I don't see this happening immediately in February, but this hidden card here could also be hiding something to do with Canada. Future. Succession. Next phase. Next phase. Canadians worried about this? I don't know. I'm not sure. If you're Canadian, let me know. Are you worried about what happens next? The inundation of mining in the Greenland area? What happens next for your country? Like, there seems to be something that's been hidden here and not talked about at the moment because it's next phase to this plan. It's not this phase. This phase is rare earth minerals in Greenland. But how does it affect Canada? Because Canada's on the table here. It's at the moment that's hidden. But something may be said by the Canadian leader that may break some trust credibility with the people, starting to be in fear about the inundation of mining in their area. This is mining card here. Very interesting. Okay, I'm going to leave that there and I'm going to take a look at last month's predictions. Let's review what happened in 2026 with what the cards said and what actually took place around the world. I'm then going to read out some of the comments as I go through to see what happened in your part of the world. The other thing I just want to make a note of in that Canadian, I wonder if something broken credibility, I said, could be the people with the leaders of Canada, but what if there's some kind of broken credibility between the US and the Canadian leadership in some way because of what's going on in Greenland? So a different way, a different angle to think about that situation. So I'm going to read through some of the things that happened. Now, there's a lot happened. Let's start with Venezuela. We had the rulership changeover. That was in the cards. Military action, we saw that was in the cards. That all happened. Also, there was a little bit of betrayal that came up in that reading. There said something about things not going to plan because of betrayal. I do recall, and I haven't pulled up the news article, but I recall that Trump done an announcement about the 2IC, the second in charge in Venezuela, will be taking the reins, but then and they'll be working hand in hand with the US, but then the person in Venezuela came out and said, no, we need to reinstate the former leader. So there was a little bit of backstabbing or betrayal that did take place. So I think that's what that was indicating. Now, before I get to the royal stuff, I will do let me just scroll down and see what happened. I said China and Taiwan were in the headlines. I also said I could see something to do with boats in water in the Taiwan water, and I also said something about drones as well, came up in that reading. So just reading through some of the significant issues that came up in January 2026 between China and Taiwan. We had significant increases in Chinese military activity around Taiwan. Chinese drone violates Taiwan's airspace, so we did see the drone activity. This was the PLA drone breached Taiwan's territorial airspace, a rare and serious escalation. Then we saw surveillance drones over Pratas Island. Drones were in that. Surveillance drone flew directly over Pratas, Dongsha Island, and my apologies if I'm mispronouncing these places. We also saw a New Year message, reunification is unstoppable. Xi Jinping's New Year message. reunification with Taiwan is unstoppable. He referenced blood and kinship. The speech followed live fire drills around Taiwan. Interesting. I never saw that on the media. I've just put in what happened in 2026 to do with Taiwan, China, and drones, and this is what's come up. So there's a US, China, Taiwan triangle tensions. Interesting. An ABC analysis on January 2nd, 2026 highlighted Xi Jinping's confidence, Taiwan's potential moves towards formal independence, and the uncertainty of US military response. Interesting. Okay, so let's move past that one. So we had the Taiwan stuff happen with the drones. We had the rulership handover transfer with Venezuela that was in the cards. Now we also we had a lot of royal stuff as well. Let's see, and I said something about Fergie and Meghan maybe, or more stuff in the headlines about the redacted or the declassified documents, which I assume to be Epstein. So we had Prince Andrew remained in the central figure in January 26 coverage to do with Epstein files. Epstein Files Transparency Act delays kept the story in the news. So the delays to the Transparency Act to do with declassifying documents. So that's what that would have meant. Calls for royal family to compensate Epstein victims. That was late December, so we'll leave that one out. Resurfaced Epstein-related photos involving Andrew. Again, that was late December, so we'll leave that one out as well. Now, I do always say that the readings are relevant from the time that I do the readings. So today's reading is the 25th of January, which is Australian time, so 24th in the Northern Hemisphere. So predictions could be active from any time now. So then I asked, because I mentioned Sarah by name, entertainment purposes only, of course, how was she in the headlines in 2026? And it's not unusual for the royal family to be in the headlines. But here it says renewed scrutiny over the Epstein accusation. So she was very much in the headlines in January 2026, including leaked emails and the fallout from the Prince Andrew scandals. Meghan-style reinvention strategy. Several outlets reported that Fergie was studying Meghan and Harry's media blueprint, memoirs, streaming deals, tell-alls, as she considered going totally rogue from the royal family. Entertainment purposes only. This could be, we don't know if this is factual. Housing and title drama, of course, coming up around that for her in 2026. Multiple reports frame 2026 as a repeat of her 1996 downfall, with scandals and financial instability returning to the forefront. So that's how she was in the media over 2026. We have Meghan Markle also in the headlines January 2026, but for different reasons. Comparisons to Sarah Ferguson. Several articles drew direct parallels between Meghan's post-royal life and Fergie's turbulent exit decades earlier. Controversy over the continued use of royal titles in the media over 2026. So I'll leave that one there. So we did have some pretty big hits, I think, in the January predictions, mostly being what happened with Venezuela, and the other one being what is going on with China and Taiwan and the drone activity. And I never saw those on the media, so I had no idea. So let's see what happened in your part of the world now as I read through some of the comments. Shout out a few people here. Ding says, praying for peace and, more importantly, the collapse of the Labour Party in the UK. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you as well. Wishing you a Happy New Year. Thank you, and Happy New Year to everybody. So I just want to say that now. I'm not going to read the Happy New Year ones, but I just want to say Happy New Year to everybody. That was Lorraine. So, Barbara, a sortie is a military group going out to do surveillance. Thank you. I mentioned the word sortie last month and I didn't know what sortie meant. So, thank you so much. Sandra is saying the uprising is in Iran. Definitely, I feel that could have been the energy in those cards as well. Happy New Year. Thank you. Thank you. Sarah says, looking forward to the Australian government takedown. Laugh, laugh. I love your prediction videos and confirmations of readings from around the world. Yes, I think that's really important to bring the community into it around the world because I don't know what's going on around the world. And it's really nice to give everybody a shout out as well because it's such a beautiful community here. Adette says, I think the reading is a situation in Venezuela, food shortages, military action, leaders stepping down, etc. Yeah, I agree. Definitely. I feel that was very big part of what happened in the cards for January. Oh, Julie says there was an attack on a Jewish prayer meeting in England, but that was December, possibly. And we had the December ones in Australia as well. Follow the money. Yes, definitely follow the money. That's right. Eyes open. Always be looking for what's really going on in the situations, the things that we're not being told. Major alert in the world's water supply and control by illegal means and stealth. Interesting. Ali, thank you. Iran has a possible regime change. Thank you. I have been following the Iran stuff there. Dbaz. Thank you for that. Hi, Trish from Scotland. Hi, Jean. Feggy was heavily involved with Epstein, also a woman married into Swedish royal family. We did see the royal family and the Epstein files last week. And China military has surrounded Taiwan. Yes, thank you so much, Jean. Oh, okay. Carmel says, how corrupted is the UN and huge influence on Australian politics. Interesting. Thank you, Robert, from the UK. I won't read out that compliment, but thank you so much. Cam Salt says, China surrounded Taiwan yesterday. Military drills are practicing, apparently. Yeah, we all know, apparently, with the practicing, the drills, what they really mean. Okay, thank you, Mary. Found me via Claire's channel. Thank you. Claire and I have another collaboration coming up early February. Looking forward to that one. So we're going to be reading on one that the viewers suggested. Interesting. Melody says, kudos for being willing to take on evaluating your own predictions. Yeah, that's all transparency. Sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. Some of the big ones did happen this month. Sometimes they happen a little bit differently than I explain than I interpret them. But I always think the raw original message is always the cards or the words that come directly from spirit. Sometimes things can be misinterpreted by a psychic. So the interpretation is where sometimes things can be a little bit misleading or off track. But I always think the original raw message, being the cards or the words, is definitely what you need to focus on when it comes to predictions. So thank you, Melody. Closed captions is available for those having difficulty understanding audio, which is my fast talking. Thanks, Lamati. Sorry for mispronunciation there. Then we have Julie. Julie says, listening to this on the 5th of January, spot on, amazing. Venezuela has happened and uprising in Iran. Yeah, definitely the cards. I think the cards were on it. Thanks, Julie. Keep going down from Australia. Do we have any dramas ahead? Oh, we have dramas. I should do Australia separately. I might start doing Australia separately or just breaking up some of the countries in March. I am away for a couple of weeks, February, early March. Okay, there is more than one European royal family. Yes. Yes. Thank you for bringing that to everybody's attention. This is Craig. It came to light recently the Swedish royal princess who married into Swedish family also named in the files. I saw 2 women, I was picking up two females because it was the 2, royal female cards on the table connected to declassified, information or declassified papers, which would be the files. Okay, yeah, that's very thank you very much for that information, Craig, I didn't know that. Carmel, money for flights by parliament members has been in place by all governments. Prime Minister has stopped payment for travel of Parliament's family members, along with other changes. Yes, thank you so much. That did happen before all of the uproars happened with everything else, but they did make some changes to the way that parliamentary or politicians spend with family members. England have been trying to clean up the mess left by the Tories, and lies told the benefits leaving the EU because of leaving the EU. And the benefits didn't happen. Surprise, surprise. Changing leaders in England will not necessarily deliver the pot of gold. Okay, interesting. Thank you so much for that. I love everybody's personal opinion, and I love personal opinions. Nobody should think the same. The bomb cyclone in the US, I must have mentioned something about a bomb cyclone. It wasn't a tornado style, I'm aware of that, but it was air. So I was picking up around air, and I think that was snowstorm, so snow and air. Okay, that was thank you, Susie. Then we have Marjo. Marge, I'm gonna say Marge. Today I heard the Russian launched some satellites for Iran so they can observe the Middle East. Yeah, that stuff's heating up again this month. Iran recently threatened Israel and a couple of other countries in the area. Interesting. CJ said the Invigorate card fell out the same time as the China card, and I put it back. Invigorate, that deck that I used there is very broad range. It's I call it my little Ask Anything, so it covers a broad range. Maybe there was some kind of invigoration around China, invigorating their energy, invigorating their military, invigorating their uprising. So their energy was just being invigorated when it came out, when they fell out together. So it was showing invigorated energy around China. So basically everything that came out in that reading anyway, but the invigoration card just heightened the energy for China. Just subscribe to your channel. Thank you, Cindy. It appears that I am describing what's happening right now with the taking over of Venezuela, Maduro. Yes, definitely. Big in the cards in January. Definitely. Now discussing taking over Cuba, Mexico, Greenland, and other countries. Yes, Greenland is definitely in the cards for February predictions coming up. It's big in February, but I also saw South America also in February. So that's where, as you say, Cuba and Mexico, very big. And I didn't know that about Cuba and Mexico, but we'll see what happens in February because South America and North, being Canada, Greenland, is also in the cards for February predictions. Thank you, Cindy. And then we have Deanna says, heard something about war. Preparing, let's see, let me read this. They preparing for the Ukraine. The US government has natural disasters. There's Epstein stuff happening. And I mentioned Fergie and Megan are all part of the reading. Yes, thank you. Yes, that's right. Thank you for that. Okay, it sounds like leaders around the world are trying to play into the Trump playbook, which I've been calling it the chessboard. And because my cards have chessboards on them when it usually comes out when we're talking about the US. They better heed warnings because of terrorist administration who all know steals on daily basis. Okay, I'm not going to read too much of that because there's some things I've got to be careful of saying now with our new hate laws. So anything around I just have to be a little bit careful about saying, but I am just want to thank you, Samari, for your comment there, and I love personal opinion. I love everybody having their own opinions. I think it's great. Nobody should think the same. Oh, information on a fungal disease attacking bodily organs in Western USA. Thank you, reader. I had no idea. Now, I'm not sure that came up in the predictions anywhere. I can't place my finger on anywhere. Yes, pandemic. The pandemic card was in there. Yeah, it was, and that's one I didn't know, so thank you for that. I didn't find that I didn't look that one up. Okay, G says, listening to this on the 3rd of January, and this is when the Venezuela stuff was going down, and the predictions normally start a few days before when I do the reading. When the reading goes, the day that I do the reading is when the reading is live. Okay, here's one that Maria. Let me just scan this one quickly. This is to do with the far right person that had tattoos on the Sydney beach. I thought one of these happened in north of Sydney, but important to get facts straight. So yes, that's what I want to take. Definitely what I want to take out of this reading that I'm reading from Maria. It's not a religious group. It's a ideology. I don't want to say some of the words in here. Okay, so Maria is talking about something that took place in an arrest of a Sydney man with tattoos on his body, and just talking about getting facts right. I definitely agree with getting facts right. I wasn't aware of the one in Sydney. I was talking about the one that took place north of Sydney. I think it was Newcastle. There was one that happened around Newcastle, but I wasn't aware that one actually happened in Sydney as well. So thank you for that. Okay. All honey. Now I hope I'm reading that right because I've got the light shining on that part. So I'm talking about the Sweden person having meetings in the files. UK royals are just one of many. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much for that. And I am going to update my little card deck to show Sweden and Germany and France and break down the EU countries. In UK, Russian submarines in British waters. I talked about ships in other people's waters, and I always class submarines in that category. Thank you. Mentioning someone here, not for long. I think it will be, I'm not talking about Yvette. I'm sorry, I don't know who that person is, but thank you for your beautiful message. Talking about Trump's health. Interesting. I'd like to, when I read into, because US was in the 2026 predictions. So when the countries that got named in the 2026 predictions, I want to just narrow down more about what's going on there. And the US is one. So that would be a very interesting question for that reading. Okay, Night Owl says there's been a lot of food recalls with the destruction of chickens and cattle due to the flu. So we had the food shortage card come up in January, but we also had the pandemic crisis card come up as well. So that could be definitely indicating those. So thank you so much for that, Night Owl. Okay, and Mary says, check details about travel expenses to America. Yeah, thank you so much. I didn't read it off a news article. I just went by kind of what I heard on the news and just like I should have actually just read out the actual news article about what happened in Australia with the travel expenses to America. She doesn't believe the family members were involved in that trip. And yeah, and my apologies if I made it come across as it was family member. the media issues were to do with travel and family, but also the travel budget in general of how much things were costing with the politicians. So both of those things were highlighted in that for that month, but I may have kind of clumped them all together. So thank you so much, Mary, for that. Okay, Kiwi girl. Hi, New Zealand. I want to say a big hi to New Zealand. I've been getting messages from New Zealand saying that sometimes I forget you guys, and we're very close to our neighbours. So she's saying, apart from affordability issues in New Zealand hasn't had to deal with anything really. Living at the bottom of the world is the best place to be living. Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. You're so far from I mean, we are too, but you're even further away, which is who wouldn't want to be further away from all the drama? But New Zealand came up interesting. I don't know why. It was very interesting, New Zealand. I was shocked to see it because when I did that reading, I pulled the cards the night before, had them sitting there, came out the next morning to do the reading. I put them in position and New Zealand was sitting on the table, and I did not pull New Zealand the night before. So I don't know what's happening with New Zealand. So I would like to do a little reading on New Zealand, but I also want to do it because I've had people message me and say, you forget New Zealand all the time. So, what's happening? Can I include them in the readings? So I think New Zealanders are going to get their own little reading there. But that's it. So thank you so much for everybody's beautiful comments. Don't forget, let me know what's happening in your part of the world this month. And I will give you a shout out at the end of this month, and I'll see you again next time.